Take a basic green wreath and fluff out all the branches. Then pour some white acrylic paint onto a paper plate. Take a scrunched up paper towel, dip the end in the paint, and dab the paint onto the ends of the wreath. Dab around the entire wreath until all of the tips are covered with the white paint. Now go back and put together those adorable little houses. If they are like mine, they fit together just like puzzle pieces. Once assembled, start to paint your houses with acrylic paint in whatever colors you choose. I decided to paint mine green, pink, and blue. You probably wouldn't have to paint the back of the houses. However, I did, just in case the back might be exposed when the project is finished. Once the painted houses are dry, take a white paint pen and outline all the windows and doors on the houses. I even outlined the roof line of each house. Take a can of spray adhesive and spray the roof of a house. Then sprinkle a liberal dose of faux snow on top. Press the snow into the adhesive and then shake off the excess. Do the same for the front and sides of the house. Repeat this for all of your houses, adding as much snow as fits your taste. Spread apart the branches on a spot on the wreath and add some hot glue. Also apply some hot glue to the back of the house. Press the house onto the wreath to attach it. Repeat this with all of the houses until they are securely attached to the wreath. For a finishing touch, hot glue some small bottle brush trees onto the wreath, and then glue some white batting under the houses and around the trees to look like snow. I hope this inspired you to take some little wooden houses and turn them into a charming and snowy holiday wreath.
Pick up a pack of these LED pillars from Walmart and we're going to turn them into Pottery Barn inspired candles. First up is the birch bark covered candles that are so popular right now. I went to the craft store and I found the perfect piece of paper. I'm going to cut it down to size, wrap it around the candle, and just secure it with a piece of tape. Now the top of these candles is curved a little bit, so I'm just going to use a craft knife to trim that off and make the paper match up perfectly with the edges of the candle. These give a really natural, rustic look to a Christmas mantle. These LED pillars have a wax coating on the outside, so you need a wax coating to do this. Then you're going to grab a hairdryer or a heat gun and a piece of burlap. I'm just going to heat up the wax until it just starts to melt. Then I'm going to wrap the burlap around the candle and apply pressure so I can get the pattern of the burlap onto the candle. I'm going to let this cool back to room temperature, and then I'm going to add some paint. Then I'm going to take a paper towel and just gently wipe some of that paint off so you can really see the beautiful texture that's left over. These candles have a really natural and rustic feel with a little bit of metallic gold peeking through. Grab a flameless candle and paint it gold. I'm going to cover the entire candle. Once it's dry, I'm going to come back in with a craft sponge and some metallic brown paint. I want to give this candle a vintage look, so it looks like it's a really old or antique candle. Now I have a set of candles that looks like they are covered in gold leaf. I love this look.
So I went to my local Walmart and I found ornaments, and I really like the red and green. I think it's traditional Christmas, and I think it's going to be perfect for creating this hanging ball. So we're going to take the ornament, make sure all of the tops are secured, and if they're not, you can just come back in with a little bit of hot glue. What we have here is our glue skillet, and I'm just going to dip that ornament top into the skillet, and that's actually going to secure it even more so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just poke it right into the ornament. So as you can see, it creates a much larger ornament than using the smaller ones. And all we have to do is just alternate between each color. So the cool thing about this ornament ball is that you can do it in whatever color scheme you would like. There are so many different colored ornaments out there and so many different choices and selections. And you can also be using unusual shapes as well. So I'm just alternating so we have somewhat of a pattern. But if you're using the smaller ones, it doesn't really make a huge difference. And another thing that I did is I actually just poked some holes into it. So what I did is I just took the ornaments and poked them throughout. That way we have our guideline and we don't have to worry about doing it as we add each ornament. So now what we can do is we can come back in with our next layer. And again, like I said, don't worry about any of the gaps at this point in time because we are going to come back in with some extra little ornaments. We have one final ornament left to add, but it's not going to fit perfectly in between. So we are going to need to add an artificial stem. And you can also do this to every single one. We actually showed that in the last video we did last year for Hometalk. So we're going to just let that sit for a minute or two while it hardens up, and then we'll poke that right into the styrofoam. Here's the little ornaments that I showed you guys in the beginning, and those are actually the smaller ones that we used for the entire ball last time. And now we're going to use those to fill any of the little gaps that we have in between the ornament. So go throughout each and every little section and add the ornaments where it's necessary. And it really depends on each and every ornament that you make, because sometimes it's going to require more and sometimes it's going to require a little bit less. And if there's glue strings, you can always pull them off after they've hardened. Now I just have a little length of wire, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold that so that we create a U or a pin. You could also use a floral pin for this if you choose. Then just snip them slightly at an angle. We have some wire here today, and you can find this wire available at nicksseasonaldecor.com. What we're going to do is we're going to create a little knot. So we're going to tie it off. You want to tie it a couple of times to make sure. Pull it really tight, make sure it's not going anywhere. Take your scissors, snip off an excess. Cut yourself a nice long wire to be able to hang it from, a tree, a shepherd's hook, a lamppost. And the question I get always asked, and I'm going to cover that real quick, is when I tie this, I like to have a single string instead of a loop. So what I do is I just tie this to the branch. So imagine that's a tree branch, I just tie it right on. And if I choose to move it elsewhere, all I have to do is just snip off that wire and attach it somewhere else. So now that we have our little pin, we're going to really close that up. We don't need it super wide. Dip it in our glue skillet and find a little opening. Make sure it goes into the styrofoam, and there you go. So then you have a nice long wire to hang it. You can also place this on a pole and create a topiary, but now let's see what this looks like hanging up from my tree. Here is how the hanging ball turned out. I absolutely love it. We kept it in a traditional color scheme, which just screams Christmas to me. So we used the golds, the reds, and the greens. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video inspired you. I picked up a shower rod or curtain rod from my local Walmart, and we're going to create some really cool holiday decor using it. I also have one of these Christmas garlands, and this one already has lights attached to it. So I'm going to begin by placing our curtain rod right on top of the garland, and then we're going to take the twist ties from the garland itself and just twist it secure to the pole. So just twisting about every 3 or 4 inches to ensure that this doesn't fall off. Since it's a 9-foot garland and we only need about 3.5 to 4 feet, we're going to take the remainder of the garland and double up so that the garland's a little bit thicker and better quality. All we have to do is just take the twist we've already secured and secure the rest of the garland to that. Now I'm going to come back in with some ornaments. These came from my tree a few years back, and I like to mix up my tree each year. So just an inexpensive hanger, we're going to take them and just tie them right into the garland. And we'll take another one and place it here. The 2 we just worked in are towards the front. I also want a few towards the back for depth. And just continue with as many or as few ornaments as you would like. Now I have some of these smaller ornaments, and you can find all sorts of ornaments from nicksseasonaldecor.com along with the garland, but we're going to just take them and pop the tops off like this. And this is going to be an incredibly useful hack this year when you decorate for Christmas or for winter. And all we're going to do is take that ornament and poke it right into the pine. And that'll hold it in place, and we don't have to worry about it falling off. And it's a lot easier than wiring in all of these little ornaments. For the larger ones, I do recommend wiring them in. Now it's time to come back in with some green ornaments. And as I mentioned before, you can do as many or as few ornaments as you would like, and ornaments come in all shapes, colors, and sizes, so do what looks best for your home. So typically what I recommend after all of these years of designing is to start with one color or one texture first. So we worked in all of the matte red, now we're working in the shiny green, and so on and so forth. That way you're able to distribute them more evenly, and if you only have a handful of each color, it does make the most amount of sense to do it that way so that you don't have too much on one side when you get heavy-handed and not enough on the other. Okay, so I've finished working all of them in, and now we can go throughout and space them, but I think hanging this up will give us a better judgment on how this is turning out. And here's how it looks, you guys. I absolutely love it hanging from my kitchen. I think it turned out so beautiful, and it was so easy and inexpensive to do. We took a tension curtain rod, a garland with some lights, and some ornaments. We kept it very simple, but I think it makes for a powerful statement. So I really enjoy the lights in this. I think it adds a nice ambiance to the room. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see your versions. I'm Nick Creticos of Nick's Seasonal Decor, and you're watching me on Hometalk. See you in the next episode.